Hello everybody and welcome to Dee-licious. Today we're making Snickerdoodles. This is obviously not an English recipe. I discovered Snickerdoodles in America and I cannot get enough. They are absolutely fabulous. You can eat way too many of them though. So this is my favourite recipe for Snickerdoodles. I understand that it might not be original as it could be because I like to add dark sugar, and I believe that normally they're just made with white, but this is the way that I like to have them. If you prefer them without the dark muscovado sugar, then by all means just use the white sugar. First things first, you're going to want to start off with a sink full of warm soapy water, and you want your oven on and heating up so that when you're ready to put your Snickerdoodles in, the oven's hot. I'm cooking these Snickerdoodles at 180 centigrade. I work in centigrade. That's about 400 Fahrenheit if you work in Fahrenheit. So you're going to start making these, and it's going to be very similar to if you were making a sponge cake. In actual fact, you're going to start with butter and your sugar, and you're going to cream it together. 125 grams of butter. You're going to add to that 125 grams of white sugar and another 65 grams of muscovado sugar. This, like I said, is my preference. I like to put a little bit of muscovado sugar in there. If you would prefer to just use completely white, then by all means you do that. But this is just the recipe that I like to use. You want to mix that until it's fluffy and light. Alright, now when you've creamed that together, you're going to add 2 eggs. I like to crack them into a bowl first and whisk them. Can you hear that? That's my oven making a very odd noise. I hope that's not going to turn out to be something serious. Right, so I like to just mix them up, beat them together a little bit first, and mix them in. Alright, so once you've mixed both of your eggs into your mixture, you're going to want to set that aside for a second and take your flour. This is 350 grams of plain flour. I'm using plain, and I'm going to add 2 teaspoons of baking powder to it. If you have self-raising flour, if you want to use self-raising flour, it's all you've got in the house or whatever, you could just use exactly the same amount of self-raising flour, 350 grams, and omit the baking powder. I'm also going to just tip 2, I believe, yes, just making sure, that would be embarrassing, 2 teaspoons of cinnamon into the mix as well. Like I said, this is the recipe that I like to follow. If you prefer to have a plain biscuit with just the cinnamon on the out coating, then you can omit, but it's entirely up to you. That's the thing that I like about cooking. You can change recipes to your specification. Oh, the power. Right. Now, just before I combine both of these together, I'm going to put this is a half teaspoon, so I'm going to put a teaspoon of vanilla, because I believe I've mentioned before that I'm a vanilla girl. I do like quite a heavy flavouring of vanilla. Right, and then just tip the dry ingredients into the bowl as well. Now, because this is not a cake, you can stir away as you like. It's not quite so important that you keep the air in or anything, which is why I didn't bother to sieve the flour before I put it in. And this is going to give you quite a stiff mixture. It will still be soft, but easily able to bear its own weight because you're going to be rolling this into balls. I also want to mention at this point that I always use salted butter when I'm cooking. Lots of recipes suggest that you use unsalted butter and then tell you to whack some salt in afterwards. I just prefer to use salted butter. That's how I do it. You do it how you want to do it. Right. We'll put that aside for a second and I'll show you how we're going to make the coating. Rule of thumb, you're going to have 1 tablespoon of sugar for every teaspoon of cinnamon. That's how we're going to work it out. That way, if you run out and you need a little bit more, you can just whack some up. Right. So it's 3 of these in here, because I've used 3 tablespoons of sugar. There we go. And you're going to want a flat tin. You don't have to have one with sides this steep. It's just the one I had to hand. And I'm going to use my silicone pads because I really love them. But if you don't have one, just dust with flour and butter. You want to coat it with butter, dust it with flour, and put your biscuits on top. I've turned my oven off actually because I don't know whether it's gotten a little hot, but it's making an awful racket. Hope it's not on the way out. Right. So then you're just going to take, now it depends what size biscuits you want. I like a big biscuit. You may have guessed that. And you just want to roll them around until they're fully coated in the sugar and cinnamon mixture. And then on top of your on top of your silicone mat. Now, I like a soft Snickerdoodle. I'm not a fan of anything too crunchy unless it's a ginger snap. I do love a good ginger snap, but mostly I like a soft biscuit, so I want these to be chewy in the middle. That means that I'm going to have a look at them after 10 minutes about and decide then whether they need a little bit more time or not. The more time you leave them for, the less chewy they'll be, but you still want them cooked. So you have to find a nice balance there. And there we have a finished product. I like to leave them to cool down a little on their tray before I try to lift them because they can be a little bit soft and crumbly. But you should have, and already someone's trying to eat them, you should have a nice gooey centre. That's what you're looking for. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe.
They're easily overcome.